This movie was directed by the guy who did the Blues Brothers. Gotta say, this is a diversion. How's it going, guys? My name is Zack. I love discussing all things cinema and entertainment. I really do appreciate you guys clicking on the thumbnail today. I really hope you enjoy your stay, because we're chugging right along in this year's Halloween playlist. Next up is An American Werewolf in London. This 1981 game changer was requested for this playlist by my good friend Jacob Hubbard, who also does YouTube movie reviews on here. I'll go ahead and leave a link to his amazing channel down in the description box below. Thank you so much for the recommendation, brother. You have certainly provided this playlist with one of the most fun watches you can have this holiday season. And this film follows two American college students named David and Jack, who are backpacking through Britain, all when a large wolf attacks them. And huge spoiler warning, David survives with a bite, but Jack is brutally killed. As David heals in the hospital, he's plagued by violent hallucinations of his continuously mutilated friend, and Jack then warns David that he's becoming a werewolf. So when David discovers this horrible truth, he contemplates committing suicide before the next full moon causes him to transform from man to murderous beast. So before I get into any further fun discussion about this movie, I should reiterate that John Landis as a human being, I personally do not care for, and I don't condone any of his actions. But, you know, as a critic, I've got to point out the stuff that works about this movie. So whatever John Landis did in his life, take that out of the equation for right now. And give the devil credit where it's due. This is a script that he actually wrote going into adulthood. He got two big hits with Animal House and the Blues Brothers, one after the other. And both of those films basically got him the funds to go ahead and put this film together. And the studio was looking at this spec script like, is this a horror? Is this a comedy? What is it? And my personal answer to that question of horror film or comedy film, I would say neither. I would say this is a game changer. An American Werewolf in London inspired so many of my favorite filmmakers, like a Sam Raimi, like an Edgar Wright. Wright has claimed that the filmmaking is something that he's actually tried to basically replicate. I don't want to say replicate. I don't know if that's the right word for it. But in a sense, this movie, basically in how it was filmed, it inspired Edgar Wright's immaculate editing methods. Which is interesting, considering that Edgar Wright's films are perfectly edited. Every single one of them. Because An American Werewolf in London has some editing that's kind of hit and miss for me. I noticed that it liked to rely on cross dissolves a little bit too much. Now this may just be me nitpicking way too soon in the review because, let's face it, An American Werewolf in London is a Halloween classic for a bevy of different reasons. Chief among them being the direction to go along with some immaculate special effects, which actually, this was the first movie to win an Oscar for Best Makeup Design back in 1981. Rick Baker deserves all the credit in the world for this makeup because it is the stuff of legends, especially for the character of Jack, who just looks more and more gruesome by the minute. Like his first scene in the hospital after he's brutalized by this animatronic werewolf. He's got the dead skin hanging off his face, there's bloody scratches everywhere. It's glorious. But then as David encounters Jack more and more, Jack's skin just gets greener and nastier every single time we see him, until he basically decomposes into that weird skeleton looking thing. And at that point, it becomes so much more unsettling because his actual facial expressions are so much more masked in that sense. Even though we do know what he's feeling because of some incredible dialogue, which might I add, holy shit, is this stuff dark. I really did not expect this movie to be as funny as it was. Now take it from me, I had never seen this movie before I popped in the Blu-ray just for the purpose of this review. And man, Jacob Hubbard, once again, thank you for this recommendation because I was busting up sitting in my chair right over here across the room. An American Werewolf in London is drop dead hilarious. Just some of the stuff these two guys say to each other. David hallucinating that his dead friend is sitting here before him and they're just insulting each other. It's great, great stuff. This is a brilliant script Landis has provided us here, which again, give credit where it's due. This is the kind of dark comedy I like in movies like this, which is only elevated more by a totally game cast and crew. You can definitely tell that these performers were having a blast with this material. I can only imagine what the shoot was like for that transformation scene, man. Jesus Christ. I'm sure you know which scene I'm talking about, where David turns into the werewolf for the first time. Just the bones crunching through the skin, the back giving him such poor posture. So good. I mean, again, just watch this movie and you can tell why this was such a big influence on people. Maybe not so much in the romance department, which is actually my biggest issue with this film. It's the romance David shares with this nurse that he meets in the hospital. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the actor's chemistry or what it was. Maybe it was the writing. I just really wasn't getting into it. Definitely the most forgettable part of this film in my eyes. Maybe it was the rushed out of nowhere nature of the relationship. I really don't know what it was, so I don't really know what to tell you in this aspect, but I don't know, I wasn't a fan. And yeah, okay, spoiler warning, in case you've never seen this thing, this is where you should pause the video and then come back after you've finished it. But I can't get into this next problem I have without giving you just that fair heads up. I was personally not a fan of how this film concluded. It felt extremely rushed. Now, in theory, what they were trying to do, I have no problem with it. When it was written out on paper, it pretty much looks like a good idea, but the execution of it just felt so discombobulated and clunky to me. It's basically the girl telling David she loves him before the cops remarkably are precise in putting the werewolf down for the kill. This is nothing you've never seen before. It's the beauty taming the beasts, the classic King Kong ending, if you will. But after David is shot, there's a few quick jump cuts between characters just to kind of show certain reactions, and then boom, credits. I'm like, did I miss something? I realized there was nowhere else for this story to go at this juncture, but it just felt so incomplete at that moment. Like, the way it was handled, it just felt like the movie just gave up on himself. It was almost like the editors were sitting in that room and they were just basically looking at the product and they were like, ah, f it, we're done here, folks, let's go home. Like, at least give us some more to the solution, you know? Very much reminded me of the Children of the Corn film adaptation, which if you've seen that film and you know about that ending, you know what I'm getting at. Now, honestly, these might be hot takes of nitpicks against this movie, but I had so much darn fun with it that I can't exactly downgrade this movie as harshly as I'd like to. There is no denying the impact An American Werewolf in London has on the genre, and this is another must-watch this Halloween season, along with many more spooky seasons to come. I'm gonna give An American Werewolf in London a B+. This is a brutally funny werewolf movie, perhaps the greatest werewolf movie ever put to the screen. It's a hard point to argue, that's for sure. Oh, no. Jacob is not the main character, so that's not a werewolf movie. I know what you're thinking, but these are all, of course, just my personal opinion. What are your guys' thoughts on An American Werewolf in London? Have you seen it before? Do you agree with me on these takes? Feel free to sound off with all thoughts on An American Werewolf in London down in the comments section below, and feel free to let me know what you guys think are the greatest special effects given in any film or TV show for that matter, because I love discussing all these topics and all things cinema and entertainment. And if you guys want to keep up to date on all these topics along with me, then do consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. It is absolutely 100% free to you guys. It's really beneficial in helping me get this content out there as well. And guys, if you're enjoying this content so far, don't forget to hit that thumbs up on your way out. And as per, guys, stay tuned for more exciting content hitting this channel very soon. Look out for my review of Dunne. I just posted that. It's hitting theaters this weekend. And of course, I will keep chugging along on this Halloween playlist. We've only got about one more week left to go with it, just a few more reviews. Next up is actually going to be A Quiet Place, which should be interesting because I already reviewed the second Quiet Place back in April. So definitely lots of exciting stuff to look forward to and much more. Y'all are the best, guys. And with all that being said, back talk, commence!